welcome to tonight's webinar, Top 5 Marketing Secrets to Triple Your Response, Proven Lead Generation Tactics for Savvy Real Estate Investors. Glad to have you this evening. My name is Dennis Sullivan. I'll be your moderator. And we have with us tonight Jeff Charlton of Graphic Connections Group. And many folks may know Jeff. Jeff is the owner of Graphic Connections Group. He's also a real estate investor. 30 years in real estate investing, as well as a marketer and advertiser. So combine both here. He also is a publisher of many books, including Killing It with Direct Mail for Real Estate Investors. And we're going to jump right into this. It's going to be a conversation with Jeff sharing some of his best practices here, the 5 most important things that you need to know to get the most out of your marketing and to generate highly qualified leads. So, Jeff, you ready?
I'm ready. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah,
all right,
everyone, appreciate you taking the time tonight to listen to what we have to say. Our objective tonight is just to share with you some basic marketing information specifically designed for real estate investors. As Dennis said, I am a real estate investor. I have been for a long time. I can't say I do it every day, but I currently do own rental properties, and as a result, I'm very familiar with the challenges to being a real estate investor. But my main line of business is I own a printing and direct mail and marketing company called Graphic Connections Group. And through doing that, we spend probably the last 15 years, we have done a ton of business with real estate investors, help them to market their businesses, mostly through direct mail, but we've done other things as well. But through that process, I've become quite knowledgeable on what it takes to be successful in marketing for real estate investors. So that's what we want to talk about tonight. So
and what I like about these secrets we're about to share is that you can use them in direct mail, online, Google AdWords, Facebook, social media. It applies across a lot of different channels. And so wherever you're using your marketing, you can apply these 5 principles. And I love this first one. Secret number 1, set yourself apart with a strong USP. In fact, we asked one of the questions in the registrations, asking people, what were some of your top challenges? And it was surprising seeing some of those comments. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of the number 1 comments was, how do I stand out? And that's what a unique selling proposition is how do you stand out? Basically, unique selling proposition is exactly what it says, unique. What makes it unique about your business compared to everybody else that's trying to do the same thing? How can you zig when everyone else zags? What is your zig? Why would someone choose to do business with you versus anybody else? And by the way, you can't use price, quality, or service. The reason you can't use that is because that's what everybody uses. Everybody and their brother, I don't care if you're in the real estate business or in any business, listen to the radio ads for just about any business there is, and they'll say, hey, we've got the greatest prices and the greatest quality. And the problem with that is it's the same for everybody, so it doesn't mean anything.
I'm probably mixing up the doctor
so in the real estate business specifically, some of these things sound familiar in terms of what other people are doing. No repairs, we'll close fast, buy your house for cash. These are very typical things that you hear in the real estate business. And not that they're not important, they are important, they're not unique. Everybody's saying the same thing. But what is it you can do to make yourself unique? Now, there are some companies out there that have done some things to make themselves unique. One of them is the We Buy Ugly Houses people. We've all seen those signs. They've taken the same basic concept and just had kind of a tagline, We Buy Ugly Houses. And the reason that's unique is it's memorable. Another one, 1-800-SELL-NOW. That is it's a name of a company, but it's very memorable because you don't have to remember a phone number. So that's a way to make something unique. Another way, so you might be thinking to yourself, well, I'm trying to flip houses. I got 100 other people in my area trying to do the same thing. We're all buying for cash. We're all doing the same thing. What can I do to make myself unique? Well, maybe you take something, not so much what you do, but how you do it to make it unique. Now, one thing that you could look at as a unique name, we already talked about that with the unique selling proposition, with the We Buy Ugly Houses people, but you could have a unique guarantee. Maybe you say, hey, I guarantee that I'm going to come over in 60 minutes from the time you call me, and I'm going to come over with a briefcase full of cash to pay cash for your property. Well, that would be certainly a unique guarantee. That'd be unique payment terms as well. That I'm going to bring literally cash to your doorstep right now. Now, you might think that's crazy. Maybe you never do that, but it certainly would make you stand out. So my point is, what can you do? Think about what it is that you do in your business that can turn that into something unique, that when you tell somebody about it, it makes you stand out from everyone else. That's a unique selling proposition. It's very important.
Well, I like each one of these, Jeff, that you're talking about, is that it really does grab your attention. And that was something else that we saw in some of the comments that we got from folks who are registering, is that that's a big issue.
Oh, yeah, huge issue, because we're all struggling with that. The reality is these days, real estate investing and house flipping is very, very popular. Every city has gurus traveling through with radio advertisements offering free seminars for the weekend to go teach you how to flip houses. It's everywhere. And so people go to those seminars and they're taught a lot of the same things, and they're all trying to do that in your market. Since I am a real estate investor, I get these types of solicitations all the time because I own properties, and they're very similar. A lot of the solicitations are very similar, and I'm getting a lot of them. That makes it more difficult. And I for the most part, don't pay attention unless somebody gives me something that's really unique. Then I might take a look at it. So it's really important. Think about that uniqueness. What can you do to be unique?
All right. So secret number one, we want to set ourselves apart. Secret number two, I think, is interesting as well, is now we're talking about, well, how do we get these leads? How do we get people good qualified leads? And we got to start building a list. Talk to us more about how you go about doing this, and some of your best clients, how they're going about building these lists.
Right. Now, what it says, secret number two, is identify your target market. So what's your target market? Your target market is, who is it you want to go after? Most of you on the line are small business people. I'm a small business. We've got a successful company, but we're still a small business. And so we can't afford to do what Nike does or what these huge companies do and spend millions of dollars in national brand advertising, because we just flat out can't afford that. So what we have to do is narrow it down to who is the ideal prospect we want to go after, and then identify those people and then go after those people. So how do you do that? Well, there's all kinds of ways to do it. But one of the ways is by a mailing list. That's the simplest way, and for a direct mail piece. So you can go to list brokers all over the place and get mailing lists that might fit your target. But before you buy that mailing list, you have to think about who it is you want to buy a list of. So who might that be? Well, let's talk about real estate. In real estate, maybe you go after foreclosures. Maybe you go after people with only high equity in their property. Maybe you go out after people that are in probate. Or maybe you like vacant homes. Or maybe you like absentee owner homes. Or maybe you combine some of those. Maybe you look for people that have high equity and they're absentee owners and they're out-of-state absentee owners. Well, how can you do that? Well, one way you can do it is you can buy a mailing list, and you can give the criteria that you're looking for to the list broker to try to narrow it down. So instead of buying a list of 100,000 houses in your zip code, maybe you narrow it down to only 250 houses that fit the specific criteria you're looking for, and that gives you a much narrower focus that allows you to then, instead of spending money to market to 100,000 people, you're going to spend money to market to 250 people, which small businesses can afford to do that. Now, how do you market choices?
Jeff, quick question for you. Should you have a different USP for different target markets, or is it better to have one USP and then have that apply to various markets that you're trying to appeal to? What's your thought?
Well, that's my opinion. I'd say one. Again, I go back to small business. You want to get laser focused on what you're trying to do, and trying to do too many things with too many people, all that does is dilute your focus. It makes it more difficult to succeed in any one thing. Pick one thing, pick one target, and go after it. Excuse me.
Keep it simple is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
All
right.
Some other things you can do.
Yeah, go ahead.
You not only, there are other options to marketing. If you're starting out, one thing about buying mailing lists and then doing mailings is it does cost money. So if you're starting out with no money, it's a little more difficult because it's hard to market if you don't have any money. However, you have the choice of doing personal sweat equity. In the real estate business, there are other ways to get leads other than direct mail. There's internet programs. There is, you can put out signs, they call them bandit signs. You can go literally knock on doors. So there's other things you can do that don't cost a lot of money to try to get leads, but they take a lot of work. So you have to balance the how much you're willing to personally put into it in terms of time, how much you're financially willing to invest, and decide what you want to do. And if you don't have money, you can get money through credit cards, you can get money through loans from banks, home equity loans, whatever it might be. So don't let the fact you don't have any money stop you. But if you're going to invest your money, you better make darn sure you do everything you can to make sure that investment pays off by making the most of any lead you might get.
Do you have any sources for lists? I know you're working with a lot of different companies. What are some sources that you can recommend for lists?
One is, most of you on this call know a man by the name of Kent Clothier. We work closely with Kent. In fact, we are the mail provider that ties into his various software programs. And he has Find Motivated Sellers now. He has Find Cash Buyers now, Find Private Lenders now. These are all programs that he sells that are systems basically to identify targeted lists based on whatever you're looking for. There's also a company named ListSource that we see quite often in the market, and they do a good job. They're a big company, and you can go to them to find what I talked about earlier, high equity, specific zip codes, absentee, non-absentee, that type of thing. So those are two options that are very good, and there's others as well. If you want to get probate lists, you can go to your local courthouse. That's a little harder. It's hard to buy a probate list. There aren't any national probate lists that I know of. Those are more local, and they're usually very expensive, but they're available in some places. You can always go to your local courthouse, again, back to that sweat equity, and you can look it up yourself, but that takes a lot of work to do that. And one of the things about targeting, too, is this one slide we're looking at. When you're thinking about who you want to go after, the first thing to look at is who are your customers already? Who have you already done business with that's a good customer, that makes you happy? Because we've all had both good customers and bad customers. And in the ideal world, we want to only do business with good customers, people that make you feel good to do business with them, they pay your prices, they cooperate, everything's easy, and the deal goes through real smooth. Well, if you can identify what those type of people look like for you based on how you want to do business, then you can then go look for leads that fit that criteria. That's very important. So you might be, and back to real estate, a lot of people that are new to real estate probably aren't going to go after foreclosure leads because those are difficult leads, because people that are in financial trouble are not in a good way personally because they're usually pretty upset they're in financial trouble. Plus, there's banks involved, and those type of deals are harder to make. So that's probably not a good place for a beginner to start. A beginner might want to start more in a place where you look for high equity people, or people that own their houses free and clear, or maybe vacant houses, because those are not as difficult to make deals, because if someone owns a house free and clear, they just have to accept your offer. You don't have to worry about any bank involved. So you have to think about that. Who is somebody you really would like to do business, and what's that ideal person? What's that look like? And go look for sources of those type of people. Also, prospect list. If you've been in business for a while and you've generated prospects that said no, doesn't mean that means no forever. So don't forget about your prospects. Go back and look at your old prospects and find a way to recontact those people. They might have said no 6 months ago, but their situation might have changed. If you call them back and say, hey, I talked to you 6 months ago, and you said no then, but what's the story right now? You might be surprised at how that no turns into a yes 6 months later. So don't write off a prospect just because they said no one time. On your targeted cold prospect list, that's back to what we talked about. Identify who that ideal prospect is, and then go look for those targeted lists.
Good. I love this next secret we're talking about here. Secret number 3, create a sales funnel. It sounds like a lot of work, though.
It is. It can be. I shouldn't say it is guaranteed, but it can be. But the reason this is important is because you have to build a relationship with a lead before they're going to say yes to you. And what a sales funnel is basically an automated way, or at least fully automated or maybe semi-automated, to run a prospect through a series of steps that can turn them from a prospect into a customer. And those steps can be different based on how you want to do business, but we have an example right in front of you here on the screen. And let's just say you're going to give away some sort of a free report. In this case, 7 things you must consider before selling your property. So you create a special report based on, what you know about the business, and you offer that to people. And you could offer that online. You could offer that through direct mail, however you want to do it. You could put up signs in a grocery store. But you offer some sort of a free lead magnet is what they call that, to get someone to opt into your list, or to basically raise their hand and say, okay, you got my attention, tell me more. So
does it have to be free?
It doesn't have to be free. You can charge for it too. There's different ways to do it. Some people charge small amounts of money. You'll see some things like a free DVD, pay shipping only, or it might be totally free. I do both in my business. We offer completely free things. We also sometimes offer a free report. You pay the shipping. Sometimes we'll offer a free digital report, but if you want the actual physical report, since I'm in the printing business, we print things, we will actually offer the physically printed books and reports. We'll ask them to pay for the shipping to send it to them. So it just depends on what you want to do.
Now, Jeff, you've probably gotten some of these before where they offer you something for free, and it's really just an advertisement, a promotion. So how do you balance that with giving somebody something that is valuable enough that they're going to think highly of you, but still encourage them to want to take a next step?
Well, the key is give more than you receive, always, at every step of your business. If you're always giving more than you look to receive, people will feel that on the other end, and they'll feel good about you. Just like this webinar. That's what we're doing tonight. I make no secret. We're giving away information that's good, valuable information with the hopes to build trust with the people listening, that someday, if they think about doing a direct mail campaign, they'll call us. It's that simple. That's why I've written books, I've written special reports. I don't sell any of that stuff. I give it all away with the intention of helping people to be more successful in their business. If I can help them, hopefully eventually that'll come back around and they'll help me. Or maybe they won't even order, but they'll recommend me to somebody else because they feel good about that transaction or that conversation. That's what it's all about. It's building a level of trust and getting people to feel more comfortable doing business with you, and that leads them down the funnel. So continuing with this funnel idea, in this case, this example, you get the lead, now you remarket using retargeting, using online ads. So then, again, this is an example, but this would be more of an internet example where somebody opted in on a website, and then through the magic of retargeting online, you can then send ads to those people automatically over a period of time that sort of follow them around about you. And then hopefully they would respond to one of those ads at some point. Maybe you offer a free 30-minute consultation. So the next step is get on the phone with them and talk to them for free for 30 minutes and give them some advice about their situation. And hopefully if that conversation goes good, they'll want to take the next step, and maybe you offer them a free, no-obligation appraisal of their property. Offer to go out and take a look at their property. And again, this is all part of the sales funnel, building the rapport, leading them through the funnel. And the reason it gets narrow at the bottom because as each step goes down the funnel, people drop out because they're not interested, and that's okay. Because ultimately at the end, you're looking for just a few people at the end to say yes to your proposal, whatever that might be. So maybe you talk to them in person. At that point in the real estate business, hopefully, you're going to build enough rapport that you can maybe make an offer to either buy or sell their property, and hopefully they say yes. And if they say yes and you make a deal, it's not over at that point. The last two steps are, if you get somebody that says yes to you, and I'm going to assume you're going to do a good job to make them happy, that's always the underlying assumption is you're going to do a great job at everything you do. If you can't do a great job at everything you do, you shouldn't even be in the business. So I'm going to assume you're going to do a great job. You're going to make that customer happy. And if they're happy, don't be afraid to ask them for a testimonial. Ask them to tell their story on your behalf so you can use that story to try to entice the next prospect to do business with you. And before and after stories are great. Have the person tell you what was their situation before they met you and what was the situation after they met you and how's their life made better. And that's a great testimonial. And then don't be afraid to ask for referrals. That's another key thing. If someone's happy with you, then take advantage of that and ask them if they know anybody else. Hey, in the real estate business, do you know anybody else who might have a house they need to sell? Or do you know anybody else who wants to buy a house? It depends on what end you're on, whether you're buying or selling, but either way, it's the same thing. So, and you can see then then the whole thing goes around in a circle, and you get another lead, and you take them through the funnel. You can automate a lot of this with today's technology online. You can automate these funnels where a lot of this stuff happens automatically through autoresponders and email lists and everything. I like to personally add a personal touch, a phone call somewhere along the way in the funnel. I think it's very important to make that personal touch. I think it's especially important in the real estate business. People don't want to do business with a computer. They want to do business with real people. So at some point, you have to interject yourself into the equation and talk to these people.
And what I love about this is that you're opening this up to a large group of people to increase those responses, and you can always go back to them. Even though they may not take the next step with you, they may not be ready at that point. Maybe 3 months from now, they'll be ready, and you still have them on your list that you can go back to again and again.
That's a key point, too. In the real estate business, and I'm sure you all know this if you're in the business, they say that people move once every 7 years in the real estate business. So that means at any given time when you have a list of people, there's only about 1 out of 7 people that are thinking about moving at any given time. So that doesn't mean that they're not going to be interested. Just because they're not moving this year doesn't mean they might not move next year. So that gets back to that point I made earlier about a prospect that says no today doesn't mean they'd say no forever. So don't be afraid to stay in touch with people, because they down the road, if you make a good impression, they feel good about you. They might call you a year, 2, 3 years from now. You know, marketing is all about one simple concept. It's touching someone enough times so when it comes time for them to be ready to do what it is you want them to do, whatever that is, they think of you first and they call you. That's all it is. So what we're talking about is various different methods to stay in touch with people and do it in a good way so you make a good impression so they remember you. But it takes multiple touches. You can't do it just once and think they're going to remember you.
Great point. And I love this next secret number 4, all about relationship building. I think it's something we hear a lot about. It's a common buzzword now. But how? How do we do that? What are some things that you've seen that have worked for other people as far as building trust?
Well, trust is a big thing, and I've kind of already talked about it, but to go further, being a trusted expert, that's probably the number one thing. That's what I've taken a lot of time in my career to do, is become a trusted expert. And how did I do that? Well, number one, I learned everything there is to know about my trade. I learned about direct mail and about the postal regulations and all the ins and outs of the business. And I not only learned about it, but I keep up with it every day. So I know what's going on, so I can truly advise my customers on the best possible move they can make in any given situation. And then I took it one step further. I wrote books and reports, and I do webinars, and I do things like this to share that information, to let people know, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not ashamed to say that I know what I'm talking about. Not in a boastful way. It's not arrogant. It's just to say, look, I know a lot about this, and I can help you in my expertise. That's what you want to do in your business. Become an absolute real estate expert and try to help people, even if it doesn't lead to a sale. And that's a key point, too. Anytime I talk to anybody, yeah, I hope for a sale, but if that conversation leads to some advice that my service really isn't right for them, that's okay. I will give them the advice that they need to hear, even if that means I'm telling them don't do business with me. You can't be afraid to do that. There are going to be prospects that come across you that really aren't right. You really don't want to buy their house, or they shouldn't be selling their house to you for whatever reason. And you can't be afraid to tell them, you know what, this deal's not right. This is what I recommend you do. Because by doing that, you're building rapport, you're building trust. You may not get a deal from them, but you'll build their trust, so they may recommend you to somebody else. That's a huge thing. Another way you can do it is testimonials. We talked about that earlier. The more testimonials you have of people that are happy with your service, the more that turns you into a trusted expert. It's that simple. Before and after stories, we talked about that too. That relates to testimonials, but some people call them case studies. If you've got something that went well, don't be afraid to package that up in a way that you can share that with other people, whatever that might be. You can do it in a written form. You can do it in a video. Get one of your customers to make a video or an audio, however you can do it. Videos are very powerful if you can get people to do that. It's kind of hard to do, but it's very powerful if you can get video testimonials. And tell your story. Don't be afraid to let people know, hey, this is who I am. This is why I'm an expert, and this is what I know, and here's how I can help you. Now, you got to remember, you got to keep it at what's in it for them, because they really don't care about you. You got to be careful about spending too much time on yourself. There's nothing wrong with spending a little time just making sure that it's perceived that you are an expert.
Good stuff. We move on here to secret number 5, make it irresistible. Bringing a lot of this stuff together that you've been talking about, but you got 3 ways that we can do this and make it as irresistible as a chocolate sundae here. Talk to us more about this.
Right. What's in it for me? I just said that a minute ago. What does that mean? When you're talking, how many times have you talked to some sales guy somewhere who's making his presentation and all he talks about is how great they are and how great his company is, how many years they've been in business, and feature, and you're thinking, I don't care. The customers only care about what's in it for me being them. What's in it for them? What are they going to get out of talking to you? That's all people care about. So you need to package up everything you say and do into the what's in it for me formula. And a real simple way to do that is before you ever write anything, I should say before, after you write a sentence, then ask the question, what's in it for me? Put yourself in the shoes of the prospect and ask yourself, what's in it for me? If that sentence doesn't give them something that's in it for them, then delete that sentence. It's no good. And when I say what's in it, it means like, well, how are they going to be better off because you said that? It's very, very important. So if you think about that all times, then you'll find that your marketing gets drastically changed. 90% of marketing you see anywhere in the world is not written in the what's in it for me methodology. It's written in the features methodology, and that flat out is no good. Guarantees are another way. It's all about what they call risk removal or risk reversal. If you can offer somebody a guarantee that takes all the risk out of that transaction, that makes them more comfortable and makes it easier for them to say yes. So that becomes an irresistible offer. Now you might say in real estate, how can I make a guarantee in real estate? I'm not going to guarantee a house. I can't do that. Well, you're right. It's difficult in real estate. But maybe you can guarantee some of the aspects of the process that make it irresistible. Back to that one point I brought out earlier, the old thing about I guarantee that I'll show up to your house with $65,000 in cash in my briefcase for this offer. It may sound crazy, but that turns what could be a boring conversation into an irresistible offer and an irresistible guarantee. If I guarantee I'm going to show up with this money, that's something that probably none of your competitors are doing. So you may not want to do that, but what other thing could you come up with that might work? When I first started business 25 years ago, I was by myself working out of my basement with nothing. I had nothing to offer except for myself. So my guarantee back then was I guarantee I will return all phone calls in 60 minutes or less, no matter what. And the number 2 thing I said is I guarantee I'll do what I say I'm going to do 100% of the time, no matter what. So I was guaranteeing my personal performance is all I was doing. And that was enough to get some people to pay attention and get them to buy from me and ultimately launch the business. And then as the business got bigger, I was able to add some other things to it. But in the beginning, it was just me. So I picked out what it is I could guarantee about my own personal performance. They made a big deal out of that. And then I really did it. The other key is you have to actually execute. So if you're going to offer something crazy, you better actually do it. Because if you don't, then it's just all words and it means nothing, and that hurts your credibility. And then grab their attention is number 3. What can you do that's different than everybody else? That's back to that whole thing about what can I do that's unique and different than all the other competitors are doing in this market. What is that? What can you do to make it something? If you're different, that helps the irresistibility factor.
And I think we have a great example of a way to make it irresistible, grab their attention with something new that you've been playing with. And bring it up here. Talk to us about this one. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been doing direct mail for real estate for about 15 years. And most of what we see are the same old stuff that most of you are probably doing already. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's little yellow postcards that might say, I'll buy your house for cash. It might say, special notice or something like that. Or yellow letters, handwritten yellow letters, that's very popular. Or business letters, that it's a business letter with a logo that says, I want to buy your house. And basically, they're all the same. They all say the same thing. I want to buy your house for cash. I'll close fast. No hassles, no worries, no real estate commissions. That's the same message everybody's saying. Well, we did about 6 months ago, we came up with an idea. How can we really make something personal? So we tapped into the Google Earth Street View system that's out there on the internet. And if you don't know it, you can go into Google and type in your address of your house. And you can see a street view, an actual picture of your house taken by Google on the internet. and about 95% of all houses in the United States were shown on Google. We found a way through some proprietary software that we developed to go into that system and take your mailing list, upload your mailing list, and download every Street View picture of every name on that list, at least every name that's available. Not every house has a picture, but they said about 95% of them do. We can then take those pictures and mail merge that into either a postcard or a letter or any other mail piece and make an irresistible offer based on the fact there's a picture of their house. So if you look at the examples on the screen, imagine imagine you got this postcard and it's your picture of your house you own on the postcard and says, hey, is this your house? Or, hey, I want to buy your house. Well, do you think you're going to do a double take? At least look at that twice to think, how the heck did they get a picture of my house in this postcard? And I guarantee you're going to. And that's, in fact, what we're seeing in the marketplace. We've had these out for about 60 days now, and we've probably done about 50 orders with different customers, and we're seeing nothing but positives out of it. People are paying attention to this. It is getting people's attention because it's unique. It's the only one like this in the whole United States. There's no one else doing this but us that I know of. And we offer you the opportunity to do this for your own business through our service.
So let me get this straight, Jeff. If I give you a list of 5,000 names, each postcard would have 5,000 different images on there with each person's home? Correct.
So every postcard is truly unique, not only with an image of a home, but any unique message. You could say, hey, Joe, I want to buy your house at 123 Main Street. You could even go as far as saying, I want to buy it for a specific price. You can put any kind of merge data you want on there. Anything you give us, we can merge onto that postcard, including the photo of the house. And straight from
Wow. Do you have any results you can share with us?
We do. We've the best case we have, the largest case too, is a gentleman that mailed 14,000 pieces, and he just did this about a month ago. Mailed 14,000 pieces of mail. Half of them were large, oversized 5.5 by 11 postcards that look very similar to the one you're looking at on the screen. And the other half were letters that look very similar to these letters you're looking on the screen. And he mailed that to 14,000 names. This is a guy that's a big mailer. He's been in real estate many years, very successful guy. And he's been using the same stuff everybody else has been using. He's been using these invitation-style handwritten letters for years. And he got what he considered to be an okay response. And the mailing prior to the one we did, he did 14,000. He does these every month. He got 129 responses from his previous mail piece, which is a little under 1%. He did Street View. The only thing that changed, used the same message, same list, same everything, except for he used Street View mailers. And that 129 went to 391 responses. 391 responses, tripled the response, doing nothing more than using Street View mailers versus the previous mailers. So I can't think of a better success story than that. And not only more responses, he tripled the number of deals he actually made too. So it wasn't just more leads, it was more closes.
So he's getting better leads as a result too.
Correct, for the same money. So, because basically, if you mail whether it's 1,000 or 14,000, if you mail 1,000, it's going to cost you whatever it costs you. Well, if you can get 3 times as many responses for that same money, you're essentially tripling your return on investment for the same money you spent.
Wow, terrific. Well, let's review here. We got our top 5 marketing secrets. Walk us through the steps and how we can use it.
Okay, so this is just what we've talked about. I just want to go over it one more time. So the first thing is unique selling proposition. Set yourself apart. What can you do to make your business different than every other person on the market? And by the way, one thing I didn't talk about is one way to be unique is just be frequent. Most of your competition, these guys that go out and go to the real estate seminars on the weekends, and I can tell you because we see this every day, they'll come and do one mailing for 100 to 250 pieces, and we never hear from them again. Because, number one, it's not a large enough mailing to make anything happen, and number two, they do one and they quit. So if you're the guy that mails every single month for a year, just by being there every single month makes you unique, because the other guys aren't going to last. But think of something unique. Identify your target market, number 2. I mean, again, we talked about this. Who is it you want to go after? Do you want to be the high equity guy? You want to be the foreclosure guy? You want to be the probate guy? Whatever that is. I recommend picking, especially if you're new, Pick one target and then really go after that target. Then create a sales funnel. I mean, you get a lead. Now, what are you going to do to process that lead to make sure that you give yourself the best possible chance to get them to say yes? And it should be a multi-step process. It ought to be a multi-touch process. You ought to send them something. You ought to call them, maybe email them, maybe send them to a website, maybe go visit them in person, or all the above. Whatever it is, systemize it so you handle every lead the same way, and make sure you put systems in place so it actually happens. So you don't think, because if you spend the money to get a lead and then you don't handle it properly, you've totally wasted that money. So don't let that happen. And build relationships. That's what the funnel is all about, is building relationships. But you have to do everything you can to build that relationship. Make yourself somebody wants to talk to by being an expert, and just work it. Work the relationship end of it. And then lastly, make it irresistible. Any offer, if you want to increase your response, assuming you have a good list, the better offer wins. So how can you make it irresistible? One way you can do it is to use Street View mailers, but you can also do other things. I'm not saying that's the only way. It's just an option we have here for you that make it easy. And if you look at the Street View mailer system, it hits all these points. It is a unique selling proposition in and of itself, because the fact you're sending a mail piece out that has a picture of their house is unique. Nobody else is doing that. Just like the We Buy Ugly Houses people have a unique name, well, you have a unique way of marketing, and people are going to remember that. You can't do a mailer without having a target market, so you've done that. And if you have, I can't help you create a sales funnel. You're going to have to do that yourself, but I'm assuming if you get a lead, you're going to have a funnel. It's going to help you to build relationships by sending multiple mail pieces. And again, back to this Street View, it's an irresistible offer simply because, or it's part of an irresistible offer, I should say, because of the way it's presented. So really, that's it.
All right, Jeff, you teased us enough with a mailing campaign that can generate 3 times the response. How can we take advantage of something like this? What's the next step?
Well, the next step is, if you're interested in Street View mailers, we've got a couple different ways. You can go to our website. We have a website called streetviewmailers.com, and you can go there to get a free sample pack, a physical sample pack, which we'll actually mail you in the mail to actually see what these things look like and you can touch them and feel them. Or you can give us a call at 800-378-0378. That's our 800 number. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Standard Time. We have live people answering the phones. That's another thing. Talk about uniqueness. That's what's unique about my company. We answer the phones with live people. That's one of my unique selling propositions, where I've turned basic customer service into something unique. And I talk about this all the time. We answer the phone with live people. We don't have a computer answer the phone. Now, after hours, we have a computer answer the phone, but during normal business hours, we talk to you with live people, and we're proud of that. And that's different than most of our competition. Now, what else we're going to do to make this easy for you is we're going to give you an offer here. If you want to try us out, you've never done this before, you can take 20% off your first mailing. You can get that 20% off discount code by going to streetviewmailers.com, and you'll get that code as part of that process. Or you can call us, and we'll just do it verbally on the phone. And we're also going to, as a free service, we'll free customize a template just for you for your particular business as part of your first mailing. So what you see here are some generic templates. We can take that generic template and customize that with your own logo, your own colors, however you want to do it, your own message, whatever you want to do, totally free of charge. We'll have our artists take care of that, and we'll go back and forth with you until you're happy with the design. And we've got this 3-time response guarantee, too. What we're saying here is we guarantee that on a head-to-head mailing, so if you're going to do a true split test and test your old versus the Street View mailer with the same list at the same time, if you don't get at least 3 times a response, I'll do the printing and mailing for free. So, talk about risk reversal or no risk. There's no risk there. If it doesn't work for you, you have no risk. So that's it. We'd love for you to give it a shot at these Street View mailers. But even if not, if all you want to do is walk away, hopefully you've gotten some good advice tonight. This is basic marketing 101, but I can't stress enough how important every one of these individual steps are to be successful in your marketing program.
Well, this has been great, Jeff. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your 30 years of experience to give us 5 proven tactics that you've been using over the years. to generate highly qualified leads. And what's even better is you've given us a system that we can use, something that's going to help us stand out, identify that target market with some of the list sources that you had recommended. We can set up that sales funnel with an easy first step to grabbing people's attention, build that relationship, and I can't imagine this not working for investors. And you make it a no-brainer with your 3 times response guarantee. So we appreciate everybody taking the time this evening to tune in, and we will be following up with more details about how you can get started. But in the meantime, go to streetviewmailers.com, or if you're ready to go, you want to talk to Jeff more about it, I'm sure love to take your calls, 800-378-0378. So have a good night, everybody, and we thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Have a great night.